Alright guys, thanks for watching another one of my videos, so let's get into this one. Now you may recognize these end tables because I think literally everybody in America has had these end tables in their house at some point in their lives. I'm going to start by taking off the old hardware, popping off the old top, and then pulling off the flimsy bottom and back panels. The back stretcher pieces were kind of warped and semi-damaged, so I figured I'd just pop them out and cut new ones out of pine. I want to make sure these things are as sturdy as I can so they last another 30 years. The old stretchers were connected by nails through the outside, but you know me and my pocket holes, plus I think screws were way stronger. This stuff here is not fun to work with. It's called Aqua Coat, and it's a grain filling substance. It's kind of like a gel you put on and sand, put on and sand, put on and sand. You get the drill. It's a pain in the ass to work with, but it covers up all your grain real nicely. I'm using 1/4 inch MDF for the back and 1/4 inch pine for the bottom, both of which should paint up real good. Originally I was going to keep these little decorative side pieces, but the problem I ran into was the back panel was too thick for the slots that were originally there. So I needed to run this through my table saw to cut out a channel, and it just wouldn't go through with the decorative pieces there. So I decided it looked way better with them off anyway, and so I just left them. After sanding most of the aqua coat off, I repeated the application with the grain filler, sanded it, repeated the application until it was all smooth. It was worth it to do it, but good God, it's pain. I thought it might be handy to have the option for a shelf in here at some point, so I decided to go ahead and drill these little adjustable pins in. Now to tack all these panels in place, I put 1-inch nails in my nail gun, but even that was really too long, but it was the shortest I had and I didn't want to go to the store. Even I underestimated how much this slab was not level. It looked pretty level when I got it from the store, but after putting it through the CNC machine, I lost a solid 1.5 inches of material. The final thickness of the table ended up being just under 1 inch, which I'm not complaining, it was just more than I thought I was going to lose. I went back and forth with the colors of the epoxy depending on what was going to look good with the color in my bedroom. And then I decided on pure black. Black goes with everything and looks great next to cherry wood. This is the first time I used this kind of tie-back tape. It was suggested on Amazon and it didn't let me down, so I'll be continuing to use it because it popped off way easier than the other kind of tie-back tape I've used. I almost forgot to clamp the pieces down because if you don't do this, you run the risk that the wood will actually be lifted up by the epoxy and can float around in your mold until it dries and then it'll all be jacked up. So remember to clamp your pieces. Now for everyone's favorite activity, the bubble popping. I've heard that this isn't actually necessary because with the deep pour epoxy, it takes like 3 days for it to cure, and in that time all the bubbles would come to the surface and pop on your own. Let me know in the comments if you've heard this because I just don't believe it and I'm just going to continue to keep popping it with the blowtorch. While the epoxy's drying, I'm cutting all the rails and stiles for the shaker style door I'm going to install. It had an old style door on it and it just didn't look good anymore, so I wanted to spruce it up and give it something interesting. P.S. I just got a new shaker style router set from Whiteside that I've been dying to use, so this is the perfect time. After I get the sides routed out, I'm going to cut up the middle piece for each of the doors. I used 1/2 inch MDF because of how smooth it gets after it's painted. As expected, everything fit together like a glove. Just put them in the parallel clamps to keep them straight. You would think I'm a Craig spokesperson for all these blue Craig jigs I have laying around, but tell you the truth, they are really handy and I would recommend them to any beginning woodworker. I have the handle jig here so I can drill out the holes for where my handles are going to go. Then I flip them over and use the boring drill bit to get the hinge holes for where the hinges are going to go. Now for a coat of primer. I was spraying a set of cabinets for my actual job at the same time that I was doing this, and we were using a primer from Sherwin-Williams, and it's called Gen 2. It's a water-based cabinet primer, and it seemed to bond very well. After everything was primed up, I used another product called Chem Aqua. It's a water-based cabinet paint, and as far as water-based products go, it's up there with the best of them, and I would recommend this for any kind of cabinet work. After everything is dry, it's time to install the hardware and get all the pieces connected. It's really coming together and I can't wait till the final product. And to have end tables in my bedroom again. When installing cabinet doors, it's really important to not overwork the screws and strip the holes out. That's why you see me drill the pilot hole and then screw it in with a regular screwdriver. I didn't want to throw away these brass plaques, but they were in horrendous condition, so I put a little brass cleaner on them and cleaned them up with my Dremel tool. They're not perfect, but they came out looking way cleaner than they were, and I reinstalled them. In my opinion, with this iron ore color, they look great. Once the epoxy in the table is dry, take it back to the CNC machine to get her all leveled out. I could easily do this with a wide belt sander, but my shop doesn't have one of those yet. Hopefully I get one soon, because it would have taken substantially less time. After I get both pieces cut to size, I sand and sand and sand. My arm felt like jelly after I got done doing this. I was sanding for a solid 30 minutes, but it was well worth it. I went from 120 all the way up to 800 grit, and I'm happy I did. Back to the spray booth to put on the clear coat. I used a water-based spar urethane applied through a HVL pre-spray gun for a crystal clear finish. I ended up applying 3 coats and sanding in between each coat.